Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. It is Tuesday, October the 10th, and like every Tuesday morning, that is, I'm joined by Mr. Sean Higgs and Mr. Jesse Schule, and I'm Ross Benjamin, all of us of gamblersWORLD.net. You can find all our picks there, where all picks are guaranteed to make a profit, including all subscription plans of 30 days or less, or your account will be credited back the exact amount of your purchase price. And also visit our video portion of the site at gamblersworld.com. And you guessed it, Gamblers World is our sponsor. All right, Jesse, how was the weekend?
Well, Ross, 2-2 on Saturday, but I kind of feel lucky that I got out of there unscathed to some degree because a lot of crazy games this Saturday. A lot of upsets in college football, but I'm rubbing my hands together, just excited about next week and the season moving forward. I'm sure you guys are too.
Absolutely. Sean, it's been a few days since you got wound up all your thoughts together, and usually when you got a 72-hour sabbatical between shows, you have a lot to say, and I don't expect anything any less. So
no, just I split out on the weekend with the games. What am I gonna, even the games that I thought about using, they were end up splitting. So this is where I'm at a month into the season. I mean, I'm spinning. I'm up a little bit, but nothing. What am I gonna do, Ross? I'm not a.
No, you know what, Sean? Sometimes
I'm not catching those breaks. My good lines aren't hitting for me. I mean, like the NFL. I had the Rams +7, Arizona +6. I lose those. You figure at worst, all right. You get a good line. You figure at worst, you're going to split on something like that. You lose them. I lose every one.
Yeah, I had both of those teams on Sunday as well. In the NFL, Arizona and the Rams.
The Viking line. I was like, I did a little video on the Vikes. I'm like, look at this line keeps coming down. You got to take the Vikings here. Anytime you see, at least me, most times you see lines move 2, 3, 4 points. You think you'd win a couple of those.
Yeah.
No, not meant to be.
Yeah, I had the under in that game, so I was very fortunate because I had to hang on. It didn't look very good going into the fourth quarter, but things panned out for me. I got a little lucky on Saturday with the game LSU. Getting a pick six with 34 seconds to go makes up for how that went against me with earlier in the season. And I can't recall the game. I believe it was Oregon. I can't remember. Washington State game. I can't remember. But anyway, those types of things, to me, they even out. It was a 7-5 football week for me. Nothing great, but I'll take it and move on. And Sean, it's like when you're treading water, you're just waiting for that big run. So it certainly beats what you're going through right now. Certainly beats going through a dismal stretch where you have to climb out. So,
I'm not. I mean, I think I'm up on the Gamblers Rush. Should be up. I think most nights I'm up a little bit based on because money lines and stuff like that. So it's a grind.
It absolutely is.
But when the bounces go your way, you have monster years. Hello, I mean, just look at the Vikings. Last year, everything went their way. They won 12, 13 games. Great. This year, they can't catch a break and they're winless. So. Sports betting, the
Sean,
same thing.
Can I offer you some advice?
What's that?
You said, what am I going to do? I just glanced at the sports capping leaderboards, all-time NFL. And according to sports capping, since November of 2021, you're still hitting over 60%. I'd say just keep on doing what you're doing. That's my advice to you.
60%? I'll take 60%.
Better than 60%.
A couple of years, I'll take it. It breaks. What am I going to do? I try not to get too high or low because I know it is what it is. It's every day. It's one day.
Yeah.
Put it away and move on.
For those of you who are interested in buying our picks over at gamblersworld.net, you can get either our daily or weekly, annual, monthly, 3-day subscription plans. And again, all are guaranteed except for the annual packages, folks. I'm on a 20-5 run with my college football picks the last 4 weeks. Went 4-2 this past week, but lost my first game of the week as I had Texas A&M, who failed to cover against Alabama. But you know what? I can't complain. 33-14 all football runs since September the 14th. That's good for 70%. On top of a lot of the leaderboards across the internet over the last 60 days. So, again, it's been the breaks have gone my way on occasion, Sean, and you know how that goes. I just brought up the LSU win for me on Saturday. I mean, those are the types of breaks that when things aren't going well, they go against you. When you're going good, you're living right kind of thing. So, in any event, what we saw in the NFL this past week.
Never in doubt for that
know.
LSU interception there. Never in doubt her.
Yeah.
Never in doubt cover that 6.5. Easy money.
Yeah, well, Notre Dame, we could end all those discussions about possibly running the table and getting to the national championship game. USC continues to be undefeated and be overrated, in my opinion. Their offense is definitely championship caliber. Their defense is not. They're very fortunate in a triple overtime win over Arizona. Again, anything you guys want to add in and what we saw on Saturday in college, just this past week in college football?
Well, with Notre Dame, I guess it's now the dream crusher spot, right? So I know all three of us agreed that we're on Notre Dame this week against USC. But I don't know about you guys, and obviously you don't have to answer, but I haven't pulled the trigger on this game yet because I'm not that fond of betting on teams after their season got crushed. So, and I, the line, I was expecting it to be a pick'em or even Notre Dame as a dog, and I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the line. So it's probably a game I'm not going to.
I like Notre Dame even more as a favorite, Jesse, because think about it. I mean, the books are making Notre Dame a 2.5-point favorite or somewhere around there. I haven't looked at the current line in the last couple minutes anyway. And they're a 2-loss team against an undefeated team that everybody has pegged for the college football playoff. I don't know, Sean, how do you look at stuff? I mean, that's the same way I looked at LSU and Missouri last week. I did get lucky. I did get the win. But again, I trust the odds makers more than I do anybody else that votes in those polls.
Exactly.
That's just my feeling.
Exactly. I'm with you on that. I'm always the odds maker guy. Go ahead, Jess.
But let me tell you, I had Oregon State last year at home against USC. And I know you guys Sean hates it when I talk conspiracy theories, but Oregon State was winning the game outright. They should have won the game outright. They couldn't get a call the entire game. These Pac-12 referees, USC is the premier team in the Pac-12. Caleb Williams, the Heisman frontrunner. There's a lot of money at stake for this. The success of USC brings in a lot of money. Whether that has any, whether or not, I'm not saying it's rigged, but I'm saying that guys like Caleb Williams, Heisman Trophy winners, get calls. Superstars get calls in every league. But that, in particular, that Oregon State game, the game-winning drive for USC, their offensive line was holding on every play, and the refs wouldn't blow a whistle, and they just marched down, score a touchdown. They win a game that they didn't deserve to win. I'd be a little bit worried about getting the right calls for Notre Dame in this game.
Here's my retort.
It's still Notre Dame. Notre Dame will get the calls at home.
All right, let me talk, Sean, and then I'll let you ramble on. Okay. That was a Pac-12 game, and I think we could all agree last year USC was the only legitimate team in the Pac-12 at that time of the year that had a realistic chance of getting to the college football playoff. This year, this is a non-conference game. This is at Notre Dame. If there's any program in college football that's more popular than Notre Dame, it might be Alabama. It might be who else? I don't know. I mean, Colorado. USC's up there, right? But my point is you're not exactly going against an Oregon State in terms of notoriety and brand name. And also the Pac-12 this year, okay? USC is not the only realistic chance to get to the college football playoff. We have Oregon and we have Washington right in the mix as well. And that's not to count out some of the one-loss teams like Washington State and Oregon State. So it's a whole different animal this year. And your point is well taken, Jesse. I get it. And without sounding like a bitter sports bettor that thought they should have won the game and they didn't, and reverts to, okay, there should have been holding on every play. With all due respect, that happens in every game. But I do agree with you that the USC is the main moneymaker in the Pac-12, but these are a whole different set of circumstances going into the Notre Dame game. Go ahead, and then let Jesse retort after that. Go ahead, Sean. I
was just saying, don't tell me Notre Dame doesn't get calls. I got a Miami Hurricane banner. Do I got to go back to Jimmy Johnson and a fake fumble? A guy's down. Come on, please. Don't tell me don't get calls in Notre Dame. And listen, I was with you. Like we're taking Notre Dame over USC. USC has no defense. It's a home game. Notre Dame, they'd be pumped up. But close loss, Ohio State. The Duke game, you're totally gassed after 2 close games. You come in, Louisville catches you flat-footed. I mean, I want to take Notre Dame, but it's like, what you expect a good effort, but it's just at this point, maybe just an over, right? Because probably some offense. They're not stopping Notre Dame run game or passing game. I'd probably just lean over in that guy. I haven't done anything with it. I want to take Notre Dame. I can't.
Yeah, sounds like Sean and I are in full agreement once again. Yeah. I haven't bet on this game, and there's a hell of a lot better chance of me betting the over than there is of me taking Notre Dame.
Well, the talking head with hair is on an island once again with the talking heads with little hair or no hair. So,
hey, Sean, did you notice that last week I gave out a play on Louisville in the Louisville Notre Dame game, and then Ross brought in a ringer to give the other side on a show later on in the week?
I did not know what he was going to take. I did not know what he was going to take, and quite frankly, that was a scheduling gaffe on my part, and it was too late to change at that time. But yes, you were on the right side, Jesse.
I'm the type of guy that enjoys these type of things.
Give me your address in Thailand so I can send you a bag of stars that you can put on your forehead every time you come up with one of these.
Right here, baby. Right here.
Yeah, and then I'm going to also send a pack of muzzles to Texas for Sean for Christmas. And anyway, all right, let's get to our games at hand. We're going to be talking college football today. Jesse is going to tell us about Texas A&M and Tennessee. Real good Southeastern battle, another Southeastern battle, SEC battle, I should say. Missouri and Kentucky teams coming off their first losses of the season. I'll be talking Syracuse and Florida State. Let's start with Sean. Missouri and Kentucky. Which team rebounds here, Sean? Missouri coming off that tough loss at home against LSU. They just could not stop the LSU offense, and not a lot of teams will be able to this year. And the Kentucky Wildcats got humbled against Georgia. So I did have a free pick on Georgia, by the way, but Jesse, I won't go on and on about that. I'll just let Sean give me what he thinks about this Missouri and Kentucky game.
I mean, side-wise, I think I lean to Mizzou a little bit, but I'm just going to take the over and play it safe. 49-39, you get the late touchdown, but even before that, they're averaging, 27 points in 3 of the last 4 games the defense gives up. And shockingly, Kentucky scores points. I look at their scores. All right, 13 against Georgia. That is not anytime you get blown out by Georgia, Alabama, I will give you a little, all right, that's Georgia or Alabama. 33 versus Florida, 45 Vandy, 35 again, it's Akron. But they're putting up points somehow with a quarterback with a 45% completion percentage, which is why I really can't take them as a little fave here. But both quarterbacks have about a dozen touchdowns. So where's the defense? Both off losses, so they're going to want to kind of be desperate. Let's go out and do our thing. They're not defensive first teams. They're offensive first teams. So 52.5 looks a little low. I thought it'd be around the 54 at an opener. So 52, I'm take the points a little extra bonus for me. They're a little lower than I thought it'd open. I'm going over. I mean, neither team stops teams, and they both put up a little bit of offense themselves.
Kentucky, Missouri over 52.5 from Mr. Higgs.
Back to the aside. So I mentioned like the bad quarterback for Kentucky. How about Missouri's got the kid who kicked like a 60-yarder or something. So we got that on. You got that on our side here. So if it's end of the half and it's going to be some 50-yarder, you might get a bonus 3 points too for that total. So
he also came up short on a 51-yarder last week. Did not even reach the end line. So he does have a leg, no doubt about it. He missed 2 field goals last week, but both of them were long distance tries. But yeah, I mean, Kentucky, what's painfully apparent about Kentucky is you mentioned some of the offensive numbers they put up early before they met Georgia. They're a tremendous front runner when they have the lead and they're able to lean on the running game like they were against Florida 2 weeks ago. All is good. But when you fall behind against a team like Georgia or any other quality team, and like you just alluded to, Sean, your quarterback's completing only 45% of his throws. You saw what happened last week when they had to revert to and be lean on their passing game because they were behind. Things snowballed on them. So, Jesse, your thoughts on that game?
I think he's about 50%. I know I said 45, but he's not that bad.
It's not great, right? Either way. It's not great.
Actually, Sean, I believe he's well below 50%.
Is he?
Against the SEC.
Okay.
In 3 SEC games. I had Georgia last week. I thought it was a mistake that a lot of people were high on Kentucky. I thought it was a letdown spot coming off that big win over Florida. But so they go into Georgia, they get their butts spanked. No shame in that. It's not really a soul-crushing loss, I don't think, because it wasn't a game that you're supposed to win anyways. Missouri, though, that's more of a soul-crushing loss, in my opinion. Maybe harder to come back from. That was supposed to be a winnable game for Missouri. Like Ross mentioned, if they get behind and they need to pass, Devin Leary's not the guy that you want to fall back on. But I'm not sure they get behind against Missouri. I actually think this is a good spot. I like betting on teams coming off those ugly blowout losses that are sort of painless. It's like, okay, the game was over before it started. Move on to next week, and they're at home, short number. Missouri, a little more devastating of a loss that they're coming on, and I expect the running game. I expect them to have the opportunity to really dominate with the running games, similar to what they did against Florida at home against Missouri.
And I like your logic, Jesse, because if you stop and think about it, Kentucky, they got blown out. Let's just start all over again. A lot of teams are going to have been blown out against Georgia this year, last year, and going forward. This is a winnable game. We're at home, and Missouri coming off that crushing loss against LSU, first loss of the season. Like Kentucky, the difference being is they were right there, and the game was being played at home. And took a lot of wind out of their sails. Now they have to recover from that, go on the road in a tough environment. Anything else you want to add, Sean, before we move on?
No. I was like, I thought he was around 50%. He's at 54 for the season. But again, like Jesse, I guess I'm looking at his SEC numbers, like how bad he's been, like 10 to 20, just 38%, one game, 45. So again, that's why I kind of lean a little Mizzou there. But I get Jesse's side, like, hey, Mizzou had a lead at home. You give up a touchdown late, and then the interceptions for the nail in the coffin. So I understand. Again, for me, sides, no thank you. I'll just stick with the total. I still think we see the points on the board.
Yeah, can't disagree with that either. So good stuff from both of you guys on that Missouri-Kentucky game. But our official pick from Sean Higgs, as he likes Missouri and Kentucky over 52.5. Jesse, Texas A&M at Tennessee. And I'm coming off the second loss of the year, so take them out of the picture like Notre Dame. Not that I was really sold on Texas A&M to be in that picture, but, they played Alabama tough. They fell short, losing by 6. Tennessee sitting there waiting at home and primed to put up maybe a good show here against Texas A&M in front of 100,000 plus in Knoxville. Tennessee minus 3.5, Jesse, and the total is 55.5. 56.
Well, before we talk about this game, we got to talk about A&M and Alabama, because what a game that was, and what a turning point in the SEC for both teams. What caught my eye about that game is the Aggies held Alabama to just 23 yards rushing, and that looks key to me here. Because if it wasn't for that, I'd be looking at a Tennessee team coming off of a bye week with a home game. The Aggies coming off a crushing loss. I don't like betting on teams coming off crushing. It's the Dream Crusher spot for the Aggies, but it's also a do or die sort of. I mean, Jimbo Fisher has to salvage his reputation. I don't know if they're ready to roll over yet, the Aggies. And that run defense it's very impressive to me, holding Alabama to just 23 rushing yards. And Tennessee right now is sort of a one-dimensional team. Their leading receiver, Brew McCoy, is out for the season. They didn't have a lot of depth at the receiver position anyways. And Joe Milton hasn't – I came into the season thinking Joe Milton was going to be a product of the system with the head coaching, Heupel, and the system that Hendon Hooker thrived under. I expected Milton to do well. And the fact that he's struggled to the degree that he has says, it doesn't look good for the passing game for Tennessee, especially against a tough defense like this. I don't want to pick a side in this game. Like I said, I wanted to find a way to take Tennessee, but I'm not sure it's a great matchup for them. And we saw Tennessee play a 29-16 loss at Florida. Florida ran the ball down their throat. I think we could see a similar game here in Tennessee against Texas A&M. I expect it to be low scoring. I expect both teams to run the ball.
Texas A&M and Tennessee under 56 for Mr. Jesse Schule. I mean, Texas A&M's defense actually didn't play that bad last week against Alabama, but Milroe might have played his best game as an Alabama Crimson Tide quarterback. And they were victimized by a couple big plays on the outside, a couple a long pass plays that went for touchdowns. But any thoughts on this game matchup, Sean?
Well, I had A&M last week, and I got A&M this week too. And I'm sort of like kicking myself because I didn't take Texas versus Alabama because I needed to see Sark win a game. And of course I didn't bet that game, but I had Texas this week and they didn't cover in a big game. And I had A&M and Jimbo, who again can't win a big freaking game. I don't know, man. I don't know why I have some A&M bias. I'm not an A&M fan, but I'm not high on Tennessee at all. It is a tough, like Jess said, it's one of those spots where that was our season. We went all in and we end up losing late at home. Tough.
Yeah.
This is but it goes back to he said about Jimbo. This is a big game for him. Like, you get this kind of talent in here every year where they're a top 5 recruiting kind of class and you get all these guys. You bet. How are you not winning? You're what again? It could be another 9-3 season for you. What are we paying you $20 million for? Whatever the heck you get.
Yeah, well, maybe if he hangs on for another year, they'll go to an 18 playoff and they'll lose 2 games and get in. But you're right, Sean. I mean, you look at his history since arriving at A&M, and not that his record is terrible, but when you get paid the kind of money he's getting paid, you're consistently near the top when it comes to recruiting classes on an annual basis. You draw over 100,000 fans a game. The revenue is there.
Yeah.
The NIL money is there.
I thought if they beat Bama, you know what? They can win the SEC. Like they'd be to me like a team. But honestly, if they would have won yesterday or Saturday, I would have been all over Tennessee here because this would have been a total spot for them to lay an egg and lose 40-13 or something. But now I don't know. Yeah. I still like A&M, but the under for sure.
I know a lot of people don't like Max Johnson, the backup quarterback for A&M, who's now going to be their signal caller for the year with the starter being out. But I thought he did an admirable job last week considering the opponent he was playing against. He does have limitations, but we'll see. I mean, Joe Milton, another guy that Jesse just mentioned that there was higher expectations for, and he's sort of underachieved this year. And Jesse would not put the sort of in there when he describes Joe Milton. He has underachieved in his mind. So we'll see. 2 embattled quarterbacks that have taken a lot of heat recently and over the years. I mean, Max Johnson, going back to his days at LSU, they thought he was going to be the savior there, and he vastly underachieved and failed in that role there. So we'll see what happens. Intriguing matchup. And again, I have a small lean toward Tennessee here. I just think they're sitting in wake here, and Texas A&M, that loss after Alabama right now, and now with 2 losses on the season, I just have a hard time thinking they're going to recover that quickly, but we'll see. All right, I'm going to be looking at the Syracuse and Florida State game. Florida State right now 17.5-point favorite. I faded the Orange last week against North Carolina. They lose 40-7. They give up 600 plus yards. Drake May, or Drew, what is it? Drew May or Drake May? Anyway, the kid from North Carolina, Drake May, the starting quarterback from North Carolina, throws for a record day, 400 plus yards. And I'm just tired of making excuses for Dino Babers. I'm been a Syracuse fan since I've been a little kid. But, in this line of work, you can't afford not to be objective. And from an objective standpoint right now, it just seems to be customary. Syracuse gets off to a great start under Dino Babers, mostly because they take advantage of a soft schedule, and then they fizzle out, especially when facing elite competition in the last 2 weeks. Clemson and North Carolina, they've been outscored 71-21 in those two games. One of them was at home. And now Florida State 5-0, 2 close calls. The 31-24 overtime win at Clemson and 31-29 at Boston College in a game that was almost a monumental upset by the Eagles. In a game, Florida State was a 25.5-point favorite, but those games took place on the road. This one's at home. Florida State 3-0 in their last 3 versus Syracuse, scored 33-plus points on each occasion. This is also a Syracuse program under Dino Babers that's gone 0-5 straight up in ATS as a conference underdog following a conference loss by 10 points or more. And they lose by 25.8 points per game in those situations. So I'm going to take Florida State here. I just can't, as much as I'd love to take the Orange at plus 17.5. They've shown me that once they step up in competition, they don't measure up. I'm going Florida State here, guys. Minus 17.5 over Syracuse. Jesse?
I had it penciled in that I might try to make a case for Syracuse here. But after listening to you, Ross, and remembering last year when the bubble burst, how sour it got for Syracuse, I think this is a good game for me to pass on, to be honest with you. I will say that Johnny Wilson is questionable, the big receiver for Florida State. Might want to keep an eye on that before you make a move. But, for me, I think this is a good game to stay away from. I do think Florida State, they're going to lay an egg one of these days. They've already threatened to lay an egg. So this is probably not the spot to pick them to put them on upset alert or anything like that. But they will find themselves in a battle probably at Duke next week or the following week.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they're going to lay an egg, it's shown, just in their first 5 games that the possibility of such is certainly prevalent. But it's going to happen on the road as opposed to at home. Now, I might be incorrect, but I think they're more vulnerable to that happening on the road than at home. And I did weigh that up as well. I think I mentioned that as well. So, Jesse, good point, though. Obviously, Jesse thinks at some point it might be a good idea to fade Florida State, and I agree with him. And I think that spot for me is going to come when they're on the road rather in this particular instance at home. Sean, any thoughts?
Yeah, don't overthink this. Yeah, they almost BC played them tough, but they had Clemson on deck. So that was a game they're going to we got somebody on deck more important than BC. Duke's on deck. Don't overthink this. We talked about this with Syracuse. What was it, last week? We talked about when they were playing Clemson. Yeah, they start out early. Oh, you beat Akron or some MAC team or whatever the heck they're playing, and you get a couple wins on your belts. But then here comes North Carolina or Clemson or Miami or whoever normal teams are in the schedule, and they get run out of the building. No, lay it. Yeah. Lay it. Don't even think about it. They have Duke on deck, and then they're at Wake, and then that Pitt after that. Maybe one of those games is close. Maybe after they beat Duke at home, they have a close game versus Wake Forest or something, but not here. Yeah. This is not a flat spot. If Miami was on deck, I'd think about it. Not Duke.
Yeah. Syracuse has beaten Colgate, Western Michigan, Purdue on the road, which I don't know how much stock you could put in that because it's not your typical Purdue teams we've seen in past.
An Army.
with a new coaching staff, and then they beat Army, and they were down at the half against Army and had to come back in the second half. So again, I'm going to take Florida State minus a 17.5 over Syracuse. Jesse's pick is on Texas A&M and Tennessee to go under 56, and Sean likes the Missouri and Kentucky game to go over 52.5. Okay, guys, time to wind down. Jesse, tell the folks why they should invest their hard-earned money and buy your picks or your subscription plans over at gamblersworld.net.
All right. Well, I was just 2-2 with college football last Saturday, and I did have Texas in the Red River rivalry game. That was a loser, but that was my first loss on a side bet in 2023. Now 12-1 with college football sides. In 2023, I think my overall win percentage is somewhere around 67%. So we still like where we are with college football. NFL, 3 straight winning Sundays. Laid an egg with the Packers last night, though. NHL kicks off tonight. I did finish number 1 overall at picks and parlays last year with NHL. I got off to a bit of a slow start the season, but finished like a house on fire. So, and CFL and soccer, all this stuff going on. So if there's ever a time of year to buy, it's right now. So come see me at gamblersworld.net.
One of the most consistent winners you'll find anywhere, Mr. Jesse Schule. He just rattled off some pretty impressive numbers when it comes to his record. 12-1 on college football sides this year. That's excellent. 67% start in college football. And then we have Mr. Sean Higgs, as Jesse alluded to earlier, since September 2021, was it, Jesse? His record
November of 2021, 60.1%.
60.1% in the NFL. And guys, if you don't think hitting 60% is tough, try hitting 60% with the amount of plays that he puts out, which means not only is it impressive 60%, he's doing it with a volume of plays, which means if you do the math, me and Jesse hitting 60% is not going to make the same money that Sean does at 60%. So, Sean, take it away and tell the folks what you may have coming up, and also some highlights from your season so far.
All right. So, well, we have Jesse mentioned hockey. I do have hockey today. I have a hockey play. I got some baseball playoffs, NFL, college football, always. And yeah, okay. So highlight wise, I don't have super stats this year. They are what they are. We're grinding along. That's how it is. I do a lot of games, and when we have big weeks, they're big weeks. They're 9-2 weeks. They're 9-3 weeks. And a bad week is a 4-4 week or a 4-5 week. So listen, I don't have any hype to sell. And normally I don't have hype. You guys are always like, oh, I don't kind of try to dwell. Hey, see, you meant the 60% last couple of years. This is great, which just says that I will be up to 56, 50%, 7% soon, which means 8-4 runs coming in this month. So, and honestly, normally I do have better October, Novembers than I do September's because I'm a lot of dog action and hold your nose kind of plays, hey, Vikings versus the Chiefs or Rams versus, just go Tampa Bay on a Monday versus Eagles. Again, losers, but that's how I kind of roll. So if those are going, I have super duper seasons. Sometimes those take a little while to start going. It's taking a dog season progresses. So it is what it is. I'm not a.
Well, that's why I think that's why you do so well in the NFL, because we've heard it time and time again. It's a week by week league, and there's no truer statement than that. And people sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, are more apt to remember what happened last week in the NFL. Number one, because the NFL is the most popular sport in America. Sorry, baseball. And number two, as compared to college football, I mean, there's less games to remember what happened in the NFL than there is in college football the week before. So, I mean, again, anything you want to add on that, guys, before I get to me?
Just thankfully, we didn't have to talk too much about baseball today. I feel quite lucky about that.
Me too, buddy, because I'm off to a 2-5 start in Major League Baseball playoffs. Not too happy with that. In any event, I tell it the way it is. Look, I only went 3-3 in the NFL last night, and I needed last night's game. I had Las Vegas. to get to meet a 3-3. A little over 500 on the year so far in the first 6 weeks in the NFL. Very slight profit. College football, on the other hand, 20-5 over the last 4 weeks in college football. Football overall, between the NFL and college football since September the 14th, 33-14. Even though I went 0-2 last night, Major League Baseball, and 2-5 so far in the playoffs. Again, we're transparent here. I'm still 44-26 since August 4th in Major League Baseball, and all sports run terrific runs of 47-23 since September, or excuse me, since September the 12th. So again, folks, you can find all of us over at gamblersworld.net. These free picks are great. I won 5-1 last week with my free picks on our channel. But at the end of the day, we put our most money ourselves when we bet on our games on the picks that we sell to our clients. And there's a reason for that. So not to make light of what we do here, we try our best to give you the best product possible and put you in the winner's circle, with no pun intended. If you have not subscribed yet, take a second to do so, folks. It's absolutely free. Privy to the best sports betting podcasts on the internet right now. And I'm biased, yes, but I think I can make a strong case in that regard. And we appreciate all of you who have subscribed. You'll see a WC logo in the bottom right-hand corner of your video box. If you're on your PC, just click on that. That will get you subscribed. If you're on your mobile device, just click that black subscribe button underneath your video box. And if you're on your smart TV, the same thing, because 14% of people are watching Sean Higgs and that big, beautiful, bald head on their 65-inch smart TVs. And that's a statistical fact, my friends. Jesse, there's a like button right underneath that everybody can see.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button, folks. Just a small token of your appreciation for all the work, time, and effort we put in to our podcast to make you a smarter sports player today than you were yesterday. I will be back later this afternoon talking NFL with Mr. Chip Chirimbus and Paul Bovey. Until then, take care and God bless, folks.